I like it. I like it.
Hi, Bill Monty here, asking you to please remember to let us know what you think about what's happening with the program at billmonty04@gmail.com or by joining us on the Facebook page, Bill Monty's Guide to Getting Older. It's a behind-the-scenes peek at what's going on, and I'd like you to share your thoughts about what's happening. What would you like to see or hear more of or less of in our programs? We'll see if we can accommodate. We'd appreciate you listening, and we will see you on the flip side. Good morning, my friends, and morning it is where I am on today, Saturday, September 2nd, and welcome to a special yet sad episode of Bill Monty's Guide to Getting Older. This will be probably a shortened version, but I wanted to get on today. I woke up this morning to the news of the passing of Jimmy Buffett last night. And Jimmy's music was so instrumental in my life for so long. The opening song you just heard, if you're listening on Spotify, if you're not listening on Spotify, you heard nothing. But a song called Lovely Cruise. And so, Jimmy, thank you, rest in peace, as you are now on another lovely cruise. And I just wanted to share, because several episodes ago we talked about looking back on your life and how Jane Fonda had described her life as being in acts, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And for me, a portion of Act 1 was definitely defined by the music and the attitude of Jimmy Buffett. I remember, I remember I was still in high school, I worked at a Tom McCann store in Hollywood, Florida, and a song called Come Monday would come on the radio, and the manager of the store would start singing along with it. It was the first time I ever heard of Jimmy Buffett, and I liked the song a lot. But I assumed that because it was so catchy and everything, that it would probably be a one-hit wonder. There were a lot coming out at that time. It wasn't really that different or that distinct from some other songs. So fast forward to 1977. I'm now 20 years old, and my brother from another mother, Paul, my best friend, invites me over to his house, the apartment he lived in with his parents. And he said, I want to play something for you. And he put on the album Changes in Latitude, Changes in Attitude, which of course also had the song Margaritaville on it. And we listened to the album, and I was just transported away from my everyday life. And from that moment on, for me and for Paul, our lives became, Jimmy Buffett once sang, living my life like a song. And that's exactly what we did for about the next 4 years. And it was one of the best times of my life. It was probably a month or so later that we both signed up to take scuba diving lessons because we wanted to get more into it. I had by then collected all of Jimmy's previous albums and played them constantly at home and in the car, knew the words to all of them. And, we learned how to scuba dive. We used to go snorkeling off of Hollywood Beach. Dania Beach, for those of you familiar with the area down here. And then we took our dive test down in Key Largo. And that started a 4-year love affair with the Keys for us. And there was a time in my life that, thanks to, again, the simplistic fantasy lifestyle that Jimmy promoted in his music and in his interviews and everything, my dream, I would have been happy as you could possibly be if I had just had enough money to buy a houseboat and live off of Key West, and been a tour on the conch train down there talking to tourists, and then spending my nights drinking and getting high and just living in Key West. And that to me would have been paradise. That's the dreams of someone who's 20 years old or early 20s, right? Who took a very different path than others of my time. That dream didn't come to be, by the way. But I spent so many great hours with Paul in the Keys, um, in Key West. I remember we were down there once for 4th of July. And every trip started the moment we pulled away in the car with popping in either the album A1A or Living and Dying in Three-Quarter Time, Havana Daydreaming, the live album. You Had to Be There, Jimmy's first live album, was recorded at Gusman Hall in Miami. And Paul and I were there. And when hearing that album, I sometimes like to imagine that I can hear our young voices cheering Jimmy on. So today, upon hearing that Jimmy had passed last night, and I don't know that it was sudden, he had posted back in May on social media that he was diverted to a hospital, I believe it was in Boston, and the doctor had told him that he needed to take some rest, so he canceled his tours, upcoming tours. And I think there was a little thing then, but hadn't heard much about it. He has a brand new album being released. I believe it's on Monday or Tuesday upcoming this week. And I get that obviously that will be his last album unless there's something else that was in the works. And his music has been the soundtrack of my life since 1977. As recently as this past Wednesday, had one of those really just tough days at work. Now look, tough day. It was just one of those high stress days. And I got in the car and I just had it, And unfortunately now at my age, I don't relax the way I used to back in the early days of liking Jimmy Buffett. So, there's no rolling up anything in paper to smoke to relieve those pressures. Don't drink anymore or anything like that. But so I put on the album Floor Days and listened to that on the drive home. And it just relaxed me and kind of reminded me to kind of take not everything is a crisis and try to put everything in perspective. And that's what Jimmy's music did so much. And again, just talking about a certain lifestyle. So I can't believe he's gone. I really, in my mind, pictured that Jimmy would kind of be like Willie Nelson. He'd be, 90, 91 and still singing Margaritaville and all that kind of stuff. He lived 76 years, which is a great life. And he created an empire, from a guy who once in an interview, I remember in Tropic Magazine once said, when asked if he would go on Tonight Show, he said something to the effect of, well, I don't know what I would say to Johnny Carson or his audience. They're really not my people. I'm not about making all that money and doing that kind of thing. Well, for a guy who believed that, he was worth about $550 million upon his death. And certainly, as we all know, there's T-shirts and there's you can buy frozen foods in Margaritaville, Margaritaville restaurants, Margaritaville hotels. There are entire communities, Margaritaville resorts that have sprung up, Margaritaville shops. So, there's a whole empire built on what Jimmy Buffett created. The last time I actually saw Jimmy Buffett perform was probably in 2018 or 2019. I was at a conference in New York, and his show, his Broadway show was his show was on Broadway. The musical they made of his music, and they were promoting it at the Hard Rock in Times Square. And I was at that luncheon, and after they sang a few songs, Jimmy came out on stage and performed about 3 or 4 more songs with them. And that was just really exciting. It was unexpected, and it brought back a lot of I remember I actually had tears in my eyes watching him, because it really just brought back the concerts of yesterday that I enjoyed so much. And now we have the music and the memories. And it's just been a summer of loss for our icons from when we grew up. We lost Tony Bennett earlier, and there's just been so many this summer. And I dreaded that, when I heard about him canceling the tour and when we started losing people this summer, it was always on the back of my mind. I remember my mother, she was a huge Frank Sinatra fan. And she was so sad when he passed, and my father had passed a few years before. And at the time, that's when I started understanding how certain people that you never meet can become so important to your life because they take you back, whatever, be it a movie or a TV show maybe, or music, definitely. They take you back to another point in your life. And you remember with fondness and happiness, nostalgia, maybe a little melancholy, huh? Yeah. And I guess that's where I am today. It's with a little bit of sadness and a little bit of fondness and a lot of melancholy. Just remembering days of long ago and how wonderful they were. They will not be repeated. So I wanted to just come on and do a special episode here. This is not the one that I had planned for this week, and I'll get back on track, my friends, I promise. But if you have any memories of Jimmy Buffett, of what his music meant to you, please feel free to write me at billmonty04@gmail.com, or you can post them on our Facebook page, Bill Monty's Guide to Getting Older, on the Facebook page. If you are a member or not a member yet, just go in there. You can join. We'll let you in. I'll put some music up there. If you aren't that familiar with Buffett, or if you are maybe, but you're kind of just one who knows the hits, and I'm going to tell you truthfully, the ones that became hits for him are my least favorite Buffett songs. Volcano and Fins and Margaritaville, they're great songs, but those are not the ones that made me follow Jimmy Buffett. Probably my favorite Buffett song is a song called Tin Cup Chalice. I think it's on A1A, the album A1A. But Migration is another one, Trying to Reason with Hurricane Season. Certainly A Pirate Looks at 40. If you're a Buffett fan, that's it. So go in and just, find his albums, listen to them on Spotify, and just remember the great times. You'll probably find some music. I heard one this morning. I was listening to a station dedicated to Jimmy Buffett's music on Sirius. They just played so many. Rest in peace, Jimmy. And thank you. Thank you for the good times. They really were. They really were good times. My friends, thank you for joining us today for this special episode of Bill Monty's Guide to Getting Older. I'll get back on track with the next episode, and we're going to catch you up on a couple of things. I know the question we'd been asked a while back about Social Security, I now have an answer to, and got some exciting news about some other changes coming to the show that hopefully will make it exciting and make you want to come back. And please tell your friends and tell your family, share the information about us. And we're just so appreciative of you. It's been a lovely cruise. And remember, be kind. We'll see you on the flip side.